Some of you may know Johnny Cash. I mean, he's obviously a legend in the country music scene. If there are millennials and Gen Z folks in the audience, I mean, you may or may not know him, but this is a fun story anyway. So Johnny Cash obviously is a legend, and so is the gentleman on the right, Chris Christopherson, in the country music scene. And Chris Christopherson was a highly accomplished individual, even before he entered the music scene. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He studied at Oxford, and he served as a pilot in the U.S. Army as well. And despite his impressive background, he left the military and he wanted to make it as a musician. And he specifically as a songwriter and a musician. That was his dream. And so he moved to Nashville and began juggling various jobs. He even worked as a janitor. Can you believe it? Like he joined Columbia Records. He was a Rhodes Scholar, Oxford graduate, but his desire was to become a musician. So he got a job at Columbia Records and started working as a janitor. But despite all the hustle and the hard work, he just couldn't get a break because it was super competitive, right? So Chris Christopherson then, he met June Carter, this is Johnny Cash's wife, somewhere, and you know, sent across a tape of his music, but Johnny Cash just put it off, in among the other tapes in the big pile, because everyone's sending these famous musicians tapes, and want them to listen to them, but who's got the time, right? So he was so frustrated, Chris, that he rented a helicopter. He rented a helicopter and landed it on Johnny Cash's backyard, unannounced, obviously, right? And now the internet has different versions of the story. I don't know if Johnny Cash was in the house or not, but he ended up listening to the tape, right? And he liked one of the songs, which I played at the beginning of the session, Sunday Morning Coming Down, and Chris Christopherson ended up winning the Songwriter of the Year at the 1970s, the 1970 Country Music Awards. And the rest is history, right? Like Chris became a legend in his own right. So, I've known this story for a very long time because I'm a music buff, and even before I got into consulting and marketing, this is a story that it's pretty popular in the music world. But the reason I say it is because of today's topic, right? We're talking about how to reach hard to reach consulting buyers. And this is a story about, boldness, story about creativity. And sometimes to reach hard to reach buyers, it takes boldness and creativity. I'm not suggesting that, all of you start renting helicopters and start landing it in CEOs' backyards. But the lesson here is be bold and be creative. And if you can apply some creativity, some ingenuity to your business development and to your outreach, to your sales and marketing, that's the way to stand out. And really, there is no magic pill here. There is no silver bullet. I mean, even talking about that is like a cliche, isn't it? But building a sales pipeline, reaching out to consulting buyers, especially when you folks are already delivering engagements, delivering consulting engagements, busy, have demanding clients. Business development can be hard, right? It can be a challenge, and it's riddled with rejection, a lot of rejection. And if you're not used to sales and if you're not used to business development, rejection can be hard. If someone says no, or you get close to landing new business, you present a proposal, you land a meeting, and then you're waiting for the client's response. In the end, they say no. That can be heartbreaking, especially when there are big numbers involved and you really need the business. So business development is not for the faint of heart. And as consultants delivering projects, it can be even harder because it will feel like you can never get into the rhythm of business development. And this game of sales and business development and marketing is a game of consistency and being out there, facing a lot of rejection, changing your approach and tactics when things don't work out, all while delivering client engagements. Can I request that those of you in the live audience, just if you can, just put your video on, because I'd like to see you. I know AJ's got his video on, and I think Aditi, but I can't see her. But if you can put your video on, and I can see your faces, and we can interact. So just quickly, either raise your hand or type in the chat. Is this resonating with you about the fact that on one hand you're delivering client engagements and dealing with all that, and then on the other hand you are trying to build a sales pipeline, and that becomes hard, and especially then when you want to reach buyers, especially C-level and executive buyers, that can be hard. That can be a challenge. So just type in the chat. Let me know if that is resonating. Hey there, Phyllis and Amy. Good to see you folks. Cool. So normally I have a presentation and stuff for these sessions, but today I'm just gonna talk through a few points. So as I said earlier, my name is Fahim Musa. I'm a former management consultant. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. And in 2009, I started a strategic planning consulting firm here in Toronto. I've served over 200 clients, sold 200 consulting engagements myself, and built a consulting firm with a bunch of associates. And I've served, large companies, small companies, business, government agencies, for-profits, nonprofits. So I've seen a lot of different sales examples or sales situations as a consulting business owner. And what I do now is I help management consulting firm owners and independent consultants build a sales pipeline and grow their consulting business, right? I'm going to share with you in the chat a link to my Consulting Growth Hub community. I started this community because a lot of consultants wanted to interact with others. They wanted to learn how to grow a consulting business. And it seems that there's no central place to do that. People don't like talking and sharing a lot on LinkedIn and then forums over there. So this is a private community. It's free for now. Join the community if you feel this is something you want to do. All the sessions, the replays of all these sessions, Consulting Growth Hour sessions, will be in the community. So you'll have access to all of them. And today is the 52nd. And so you'll have access to a whole range of different topics on consulting growth. Right. So today, what I want to do is share 5 tactics to create connections with hard-to-reach consulting buyers, and particularly at the C-level, executive vice presidents, senior vice presidents as well. And depending on how much time we have in the end, I want to invite one of you to jump on and talk about your situation, your business development situation, where you're trying to reach out to a potential buyer or buyers. And let's see if we can, I can help you reach that buyer. Okay, cool. So as we all know, when we're trying to reach out to consulting buyers, they're busy. A lot of them are not reachable. They've got gatekeepers, PAs, assistants that don't give you access. Sometimes you reach out to them, you have a good meeting, but then they ghost you. There's no response, despite a follow-up. And sometimes they'll say, there's no need right now. Reach out in 6 months. And then, it's gone, it's over. I will be sharing with you a bunch of tactics to help you reach out to buyers. But know this, I'll say it up front, right? If you have one specific buyer in mind that you want to reach out to, that is hard. If you say that, look, this one person will change my business or whatever, and you're fixated on it, on that person, it is possible. Yes, theoretically, it's possible, but know that some buyers, or no matter what you do, you may not reach out to them. They for whatever reason, right? That's not in our control. Them responding to you is not in our control. But having a large enough pipeline where if you're not getting success for one specific buyer, you have others that you could potentially reach out to and have some success over there. And these other buyers could also be potentially large buyers, or buyers that could really add scale to your business, right? So that one elusive buyer may not be possible, but if you expand the number of buyers that you are trying to reach out to, then you'll have better success. Because I've seen a lot of consultants say that, no matter what I do, I can't reach the CEO of Microsoft, right? Reaching the CEO of Microsoft is possible, but you want to expand into and try and reach out to other CEOs as well, right? So the game is about building a list of dream clients and having strategies to contact many of them that could be, in the same category as the type of buyer that you want to reach, right? All right. So let me first share with you, before we get into any of the tactics, I want to share with you a framework called the broader market formula. And, a lot of these sessions, I share frameworks over and over again. And if you've attended these sessions before, you might feel that I'm repeating myself. Now, I like to share different frameworks and repeat these frameworks for two reasons. Number one is there may be someone new in the audience who hasn't heard me talk about this before. So there's value for that person. And number two, even if you've heard it before, there's value in repetition, because you'll retain it, you'll retain the concept better. And, every time you hear something again, you might kind of catch something different from the concept, right? So this is called the broader market formula. It's from my coaching program that I have at consultingleap.com. That's my company. And this is a framework that I picked up from this book called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. So I really recommend it. Read it if you get the chance. Now, the broader market formula talks about the buyer's journey. Every buyer is on a journey, has been on a journey before they buy. And at every stage, there are different characteristics of how these buyers behave. So you'll see in this on the screen, there's a pyramid, and this pyramid depicts the entire market, right? Any given market that you choose or you target, 30% of that market, the bottom of that pyramid, right? These are folks in the market that they know they're not interested in your product or your service. Then there's another 30% in the middle that they don't think they're interested in your service. A further 30% they're not thinking about it right now. They got other priorities. Then there's 6 to 7% of the market who are open to your service, but are not buying right now. They don't have their checkbooks open. And then there's 3% of the market at the top that is currently in buying mode. I'll give you a very easy example to understand this. I'm sure everyone in the audience has at some point in their lives purchased a car or some other vehicle. right? So you're in the car buying market. So if from the perspective of a car marketer or a dealership, right? When they're marketing to the general car buying audience, there's 30% of that audience who know that they're not interested. And these are folks that perhaps, they've bought a car recently, right? They have a car, or, they're very sure that they don't want to buy a car because they like to walk to work because, for whatever reason. And they're happy not buying a car, or their spouse has a car and they don't want to buy a car, right? But they have bought a car before, they're part of the market, but right now they know they're not interested in buying a car. Like any given market, you have that 30%, right? Now there's another 30% above that they don't think they're interested. These folks are happy to take the subway. They don't want, I mean, they think there's no value in buying a car, but they haven't really done the cost benefit analysis. Perhaps they've got some wrong information about the market. Perhaps the market that they thought, the car market that they previously knew about has changed and they don't know about it anymore. They don't know what's new. And so they really haven't thought about buying a car, even though for some of those folks or many of those folks, buying a car would make sense. But they haven't thought about it and they're not thinking about it. And they're not interested. They just may make up their mind that they're not interested. That's another 30% of the market. Then there's another 30% of the market who are not thinking about it right now. They've got other priorities. Perhaps they want to put their kids through college and they're saving up, but they don't want to put down $10,000 as a down payment. But they understand the value of having a car. They perhaps have a problem that they want to solve, that a car would solve. And they know they may be in the market at some point, but right now they've got other priorities. That's 30% of the market. Then you got 6 to 7% who are open to it. Like these are the folks that perhaps haven't bought a car in like 4 or 5 years. Their car is sputtering, and there's electric cars in the market. There's something new, and they're open to it, but they're not walking into dealerships yet. They're just talking about it among them friends, perhaps amongst their friends, and asking them about different vehicles, but they're really not opening up their checkbooks. But they're open to it. That's 6 to 7% of the market. And there's the final 3% at the top who are going on YouTube. They are comparing different versions of cars, and they're walking into dealerships. They're test driving. They're in the market to buy right now. So this is every market in general, right? You don't have all buyers who are in the market to buy right now. Oftentimes we feel that everyone we're trying to sell to is a potential buyer because they want what you're selling right now. But that's not the case. You see, there's a small sliver at the top that are actually buying right now. There's 97% of the market that are at various stages of their buying journey. And you want to be cognizant of that as well as a salesperson, right? You're not only selling to that top 3%, you also want to be building the market for that other 97%, so that when they're ready to buy, at some point, when they're ready to buy, they will consider you and you'll be top of mind for them. Right? Any questions on this, or is this making sense for you folks? Just type in the chat, let me know, give me some feedback so we know we're on the same page. So as a salesperson, as a seller of consulting services, you want to be cognizant of the buying journey. Cool, thanks for your feedback. So because of the way buyers behave in the market, because of the journey that they go through, and because of the nature of our business, consulting, you want to be building relationships with folks, and you want to be in touch with them for a long period of time, because not everybody is in buying mode. Not only building relationships through personal networking and so on, you also want to be sharing insightful content and thought leadership, which we'll get to. And you want to be regular and deliberate as a salesperson. That is essential, right? That's the mindset that you want to be in, because you understand how the market is structured, and not everybody's going to say, not everyone you meet is going to have an opportunity for you right now, right? The tactics that I'm going to share with you now are, obviously they're tactics, right? These tactics are for those of you who have already sold a consulting engagement. You know that you have an offering, you have a solution that works in the marketplace. You've had a successful experience, and you know that it works, right? Like, who your target audience is. The solution, your structure, your solution is structured in a way that people want to buy it, and you're also communicating it well, right? Like, there are other, if these are things that you want information on and education on, you'll find it in the Consulting Growth Hub community. I've done other sessions on all of this before. But today's session is about tactics, right? Today we're going to be talking about reaching out to people and that part of the business and that part of sales. So if you feel that you still need to work on your strategy, and you need to validate your strategy and your offering and your messaging and all of that stuff, then you've got to watch the other videos, whatever's appropriate for your situation, and then move to tactics, right? Because the last thing I want is to give you information on tactics, and then you go try it out, and then for some reason it doesn't work, and then later on you realize that your strategy was flawed. You didn't have the right client profile. You didn't have an offering that was validated and that was sold before, right? So these are tactics. Remember that as we move forward. But there is value in listening to them, because at some point you'll want to use them, even if you're in the stage of at the stage right now where you're building your strategy. Cool. So the first tactic I want to talk about is one of referrals and warm introductions. Now, this is a no-brainer. Like, we are an industry, a business that is very relationship focused, right? Consulting firms have been built on the back of strong relationships. We're in the game of relationships. So if you want to break through to hard to reach consulting buyers, one of the best ways is to go through a connection. And some of you may be thinking that, you don't have a connection to someone, higher up in a large organization, or, even a business owner, right? How are you going to do that? I've seen a lot of consultants who say the same thing and who believe that. But the problem is not with their connections. The problem is with their system and the effort they're putting into landing referrals and warm introductions from their network. You see, all of us know a lot of people, right? We're management consultants and business consultants who've been in corporate for a very long time, and we know a lot of people that we worked with, people that we've consulted for before, or people that we've partnered with in some way, shape, or form in our corporate careers. And we either are connected to them where we have their email address, they're in our inbox somewhere, or we're connected to them on LinkedIn or whatnot. But the idea is that we often don't think about these people, and we don't have a system around reaching out to these folks. You see, so I'll give you a little a story. When I started my consulting business, this was 2009. I worked in corporate consulting, and I realized that I wanted to strike out on my own. And I had some business planning experience before. I'd freelanced as a business planning consultant. So I said, okay, let me start a business and take this seriously. And jump into the deep end of entrepreneurship. The first thing I did was I emailed everyone I knew, not just people I'd worked with, you know, professionally. I even included people in my personal network, some of my family, some friends, everyone. So I went to my Gmail and there's a list of everybody that you've ever emailed. Any email provider, I think, will have that list. And simply started emailing everybody I knew and introduced myself, not introduce myself, but introduce my business and said, hey, you know what? I started this new company. Here's what it does. Here's who I'm looking for. If you know anybody, just write back to me and I'd love an introduction. And that's how I got my first break. One of my business school acquaintances, he wasn't even a friend, right? He was someone I knew very in a distant way. I'd say we'd say hello to each other once in a while. And this person reached back out to me and said, hey, this is great. Congratulations. I want to introduce you to a director at this organization. And that was my first client, my first big client. And from there, I started my consulting business. You see, so my point is that if you want to build a pipeline, the answers are there. And for most of you in the audience, both in the live audience and the ones listening to the recording, I know for sure that you haven't fully reached out to everyone you know, and you don't have a system around it. It's not just about a one-time outreach, right? What you want to be doing is constantly doing this and reaching out to folks that you know, and reaching out to folks to make new connections as well, right? That helps a lot in the long run because, you may not have immediate business available because of that buyer's journey, the broader market formula, right? You may meet somebody that may introduce you to somebody in your target market, and that individual may not have immediate business for you, but then you've made a connection and that person has taken the meeting because of that introduction. And when they're ready to buy, if you do a good job of keeping in touch with them and building a valuable relationship, when they're ready to buy, they will think of you first, as opposed to other vendors and consultants and advisors in the marketplace. So building a referral system is by far, for most consultants out there, especially if your business is like, less than 5 years old, for most consultants out there, building a referral network and doing this systematically is one of the most valuable things that'll come out of this session, because it's not a hard thing to do. The other tactics that I'm going to be talking about, there's some work to be done, and there are advanced tactics and so on. But this one, everyone can do, and it's not just early stage consultants. I've seen consulting firms that have been built on the back of solid relationships. I said earlier that I worked in corporate consulting, and before I started my business, I worked in a strategy consulting firm, a boutique firm here in Toronto. And, that was a firm that, again, had multiple partners, and each partner had a quota to bring in new business. There was some kind of profit sharing model. It's a very traditional consulting model. And, it was a 8-figure business, just simply built on the back of referrals. They did no other marketing. But of course, the partners had to have a decent Rolodex. Each of those partners that was brought to the business had 20 plus years of experience and had a huge Rolodex and network, and they would go source business. And that's how the firm grew. When you look at larger consulting firms as well, like the big three, for example, and other mid-sized consulting firms too, a big part of their business comes through contacts and referrals. So that's how our business is built. Now, I like to keep things simple. If there is a way, if there is a tactic that has worked for a lot of other companies and is still working, then why not look at that first and focus on that because it works, right? So for most of you in the audience, what you want to be doing is just tapping into every single person you know. Starting off with, if you've had clients before, then those are the best referral sources because you've worked with them, you've got results, and they can vouch for you. But even if you don't have clients before, you can reach out to people that you've worked with in the corporate world. They work with you as well. They can vouch for you. And beyond that, reach out to your personal network. They know you, right? And they can give you referrals. Before I move on, I just want to tell you quickly that while we stay on this topic of referrals, now you have LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator, for those of you who don't know, is a premium tool of LinkedIn, and it has more powerful features and filters where you can pinpoint your specific target audience. So on LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, what you can do is pick out a list of people that you know really well. Call them your engagement 100. This is a strategy that I work on with my clients who are trying to build consulting clients that I help to build a pipeline for their business. So this is a playbook right out of there. I call it the engagement 100 strategy. Now think of up to 100 people that you know. Okay, past clients, former colleagues, other people you know professionally, and personal network. You don't have to build a list of 100 people, but you build a list of up to 100 people, right? You could start with 10, 20, 30, whatever, right? Put them in a list on Sales Navigator, a leads list, or you can just, put them on LinkedIn. Free LinkedIn, you can't save lists of people, but on Sales Navigator, you can. So create a list of people, and then depending on people's settings on LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, you'll be able to see who they are connected to. So when you see who they're connected to, typically LinkedIn will show you up to 1,000 people that your connections are connected to, and go through those connections and pick around up to 10 people that your connections are connected to. List those 10 people, then reach out to your connections that you're part of your engagement 100, and say that I see that you're connected to around 10 people that I'd love to get in front of. Can we jump on a 20-minute call so I can run these names by you because I'd like to build my business, right? Something very brief like that. And that's how you build your pipeline. Now, I say 10 people. Find 10 people that your connections are connected to, because on LinkedIn, not everybody knows their connections. So even if you out of 10 people, they might say that I don't know these 8 folks. Yes, I'm connected to them, but I don't know them. But even if you get one connection or one referral or introduction from each of your engagement 100 list, then it's still good, right? Is this confusing, or are you good? Would you like me to kind of explain it again? Those in the audience, just give me a thumbs up or what. So again, I'll summarize it. Okay, this is called the engagement 100 approach. List up to 100 people that you know really well. That's step number 1. Go to their LinkedIn and look for who they're connected to. Pick around 10 people that they're connected to that you'd like to meet. Okay, now you got 10 people each. Then go back to your connections, the folks in the engagement 100 list, and say, I was going through your LinkedIn. I've noticed that you're connected to 10 people that I'd love to get in front of. Could you help me out by providing me with introductions to these folks? I'd love to get on a 20-minute call with you. And then get on a call with your connections, and then run those 10 names by them, each of those for each of those connections. And if you get 1 or 2 referrals from that, you're good. Now, this is a good approach because in today's environment, people are connected on LinkedIn. You can see who other people are connected to. In the in the early days, in previous years, you simply had to rely on whoever your contact provides you for whoever you're whatever referrals you get. But now you can look at LinkedIn and Sales Navigator and simply look at who's connected to whom and then request specific referrals. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to move on. If you want to recap this strategy, those of you in the live audience, just check out the replay once we're done. Okay, so that's referrals and introductions. The next thing I want to talk about is content-driven lead generation. Now, to reach hard to reach buyers, especially those at C-level and EVPs and larger companies and so on. It can be sometimes hard to reach through referrals if you don't have a network, if you don't have a connection to that potential buyer. Now, in my experience, both as a consulting business owner and as a coach and an advisor to consultants, there's one tactic that works the best in terms of content to reach C-level buyers at mid to large organizations, and that is speaking. When you speak, either at a conference or at an industry event, or even within the corporation, because different businesses have different events. If you're a speaker, either at an association or within your target organization, that is really powerful because that may give you access to the C-level network that you are wanting to meet, because these folks hang out at those kinds of meetings. A lot of these folks don't respond when you reach out through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not a place where executive vice presidents, for the most part, and C-level buyers spend a lot of time on. They may be going in and out. So when you create content on LinkedIn, they may see it, they may not see it, and it takes time. Even if they read it, most of them are not going to reach out to you. But when you build your reputation as a speaker and you have a strategy around getting in front of these folks, that's where they hang out. They hang out at conferences. They hang out at industry associations. They even hang out at their own company events, small events at their own organizations. And if you're able to get in there, that's the best place to distribute your content if you want to reach these high-ranking buyers. You see? Now, obviously, this takes time, right? This can take time. So as you're building your speaking strategy, you ensure that you've got a pipeline based on referrals. So that's why I talk about referrals first. Put together a solid referral strategy, and then work on creating content. And depending on who your buyer is, if your buyers are like large companies, then speaking is a great way to distribute your content. If they're small businesses, then you can distribute your content based on social media like LinkedIn or even a podcast. An easy way to get into the content game is simply start a podcast. You don't need anything fancy. You just need a Zoom connection and reaching out to folks on LinkedIn and booking a 30-minute conversation on a specific topic, and then publishing that via a tool like Podbean, for example. There are many free podcast tools where you can just simply upload your audio, and then you're done. But what you're doing through that is you are strategically networking, because when you reach out to folks, when you reach out to buyers as a podcast host, you get a better response than reaching out to as a salesperson. And then using that podcast, you have content you can recreate, and you repurpose that content into text posts, carousel posts on LinkedIn. You can share small clips, and then you can, build your referral, your content strategy. Now, again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of a major content strategy here. I've done that before in other sessions. So if you're interested in building a content strategy, check out the referral, check out the replays. But what I'm saying here is that, content is a great way to catch the eye of hard to reach buyers, depending on the type of content, of course, right? But if you are not producing original, insightful content, then it's time you start, because as someone in the expertise business, as you all are, you want to be sharing your knowledge, and there are many opportunities using today's tools where you can share your knowledge and reach your target audience. But a tip here is that in terms of distributing content, distribution is where the challenge is. And if you want to reach hard to reach buyers, especially the C-levels and the executive suite, then you've got to have a speaking strategy. Get in front of people. And, COVID happened, 4 years ago? And now, for the last couple of years, people are just out and about, and, speaking is back with a bang. There was a lull, a couple of years ago, people weren't going out that much, but now it's back. Conferences are in full swing. Even smaller meetings within organizations, within companies, are in. Two ways you can break into the speaking market is, number one, work with a speakers bureau. Speakers bureaus are agents where they match speakers and potential organizations. Or you can even network on LinkedIn with folks that call themselves meeting planners. Just search on LinkedIn for meeting planners, and meeting planners are folks within organizations that plan meetings and events. And when they plan meetings and events, they often look for speakers. So network with these folks from organizations that you want to do business with, right? And you'll have a chance at, asking them what the criteria is and so on and so forth to become a speaker in that organization. Type in the chat or show me a thumbs up. Let me know if this is helpful. And if you have any questions so far. And in the meanwhile, I'm going to move into the tactic number 3, which is community-led engagement. This is a more advanced type of more advanced tactic, right? Like as you progress, I'm going to talk about more advanced tactics, and stick around till the end, because I'm going to show you another tactic right after this, which many of you will find interesting. And I'm going to show you an example of how I did that as well. But right now, I'm going to be talking about the third tactic, which is community-led engagement. Now, you know that these buyers are busy, right? But what these busy buyers want is to network with other executives that are their peers. They love to network. You see, so as a salesperson, what you can do is put together a community where you bring a lot of these folks together and give them value, where you're providing value, where they are part of your community and they get to network with other people, their peers. Like CEOs like to network with other CEOs. CEOs like to also network with other executives so that they may get an opportunity to partner with them or even hire them or whatnot. So as a consulting business owner, you're in the expertise business. So you can put together a community where you share knowledge, or you invite third-party speakers, or you have some kind of arrangement where, or you put together a peer group where participants help each other. Okay, I'll give you very quick examples. Number one, I'm doing this right now. I have an ongoing community where we meet every 2 weeks, and I share my knowledge and expertise. and people come and they learn and they get to know me. So I'm providing value and people come in, whoever wants to access that value, and they know me, right? So I'm doing this on a regular basis. So a lot of you folks keep coming back to these events. And for those of you who don't, please do. um, so for a lot of you who know me, the next time you're looking for someone to help you build your consulting business, you'll think of me over some of my peers, right? So that's the advantage. So you're building a sustained way of bringing people together and showcasing your brand to that small audience. Now, this is not a big audience, it's a small audience, but in business to business consulting, you don't need a large audience, right? So that's example number one. Example number two is, I helped one of my clients do this, and this person was in the fintech business. And so we helped him put together a monthly networking event or I think it was, bi-weekly. So that's twice monthly, where he would bring together 6 CEOs in the fintech world, and each CEO, this is invite only, and each CEO would be given 10 minutes. Would be given the floor for 10 minutes and would bring forward some kind of a challenge or problem that they're facing. And the other CEOs would brainstorm and help solve that problem. So this was really valuable for everyone because they're all peers, they're all CEOs, and my client, the consultant, was moderating this session, and so they got to know him as well, and so he built his business through that. That's another format. Another format is having boardroom briefings. So one of my other clients, he's a corporate development consultant. He does mergers and acquisitions and strategic partnerships and so on. And so his market was the corporate development executives. These folks needed to have a ear to the ground and needed to understand, the movements in the markets and so on. So my consultant would have put together a community called the Boardroom Briefing. It was a breakfast meeting. Again, it was online, done through Zoom. He would invite corporate development executives at 7 a.m. or whatever that time was, early in the morning, before they get to work. And he would provide information on M&A transactions or, unique information and insights that he would gather from the marketplace. So it was like a 20-minute or 30-minute session where it was positioned as a boardroom briefing. People would come, they would get value, and they would get to know this consultant. So there's value in putting together a community, because when the more people keep coming back to your community, the more valuable your brand becomes. So that's community-led engagement. And I also have another client who did this for CEOs of mid-sized organizations and even large organizations. He put together a CEO community. So even if you're thinking that this only works with small business owners and mid-level executives, no, I've done this for large company, billion-dollar company CEOs, and that client of mine built a pipeline of 50 to 75 CEOs, mid to large organization CEOs, for his business, which was really valuable. Right, so it works across the board. How you execute it matters. Okay, so we've got about 9 minutes more for this session, and I'm going to share with you the next tactic number 4. So far we've talked about referrals, we've talked about content-based engagement, and we talked about community-led engagement. The fourth tactic is what is known as contact marketing. And I'm going to share my screen here a little bit. So if you look at your screen, you'll see what the definition of contact marketing is. And for those of you listening to the podcast, I'm going to read it out. Contact marketing is the discipline of using micro-focused campaigns to break through to specific people of strategic importance, often against impossible odds, to produce a critical sale, partnership, or connection. So contact marketing are micro campaigns that are used to break through to people often against impossible odds. So the story I shared with you earlier about Chris Christopherson breaking through to Johnny Cash was an example of contact marketing, right? Now, again, I don't expect you to rent helicopters and then start doing this, but there are many creative ways you can use the principles of that approach, Chris Christopherson's approach, to your advantage. And I've done it myself. And I'll show you what I did. So, okay, I've got to go to the next slide. So here's an example of what I did. So I had, on the side, as I was running my consulting strategic planning business, I also had a digital marketing firm with another partner. And our goal was to reach mid-sized companies. So what we ended up doing, and we learned this strategy from another coach. I always take coaching because, at every stage of my business, I'm always hiring a coach and taking coaching because it really shortcuts your path to success. So we hired a coach and we invested in learning this approach, and it just worked so beautifully for our business. So the approach was we would send out a bulky package containing a magnifying glass and a sales letter. What we were selling were the digital marketing services. So we would, do websites, we would do Google AdWords, other types of online advertising. And what we would do is we would search for keywords. Like, for example, we were targeting real estate companies at one point, and we would search for, apartments in Toronto or apartments in local market. And, the search results would come up, and this organization would not show up anywhere in the Google search results. We would take a printout of that Google search results, and we would write a sales letter to the organization saying that even with a magnifying glass, we couldn't find you on Google. We've got the first page of Google results and they're nowhere to be seen. And, just to kind of drive home the point, we would actually add a physical magnifying glass in that package with that sales letter, with the printout of the Google search results. And we would say, even with a magnifying glass, we couldn't find you on Google. And then we would say, okay, you want to work with us and increase your online exposure. Here are the next steps. You see, do you see how different this campaign was? And here's why this worked. It worked, first of all, yes, it was creative. Some people, really loved getting this package from us because it was creative and we were a creative agency. And that led to a lot of conversations. But secondly, and more importantly, this was a bulky package. It had something inside. It was a brown paper envelope, and it was handwritten. The address was handwritten. It said confidential. And, when this package was received by gatekeepers, personal assistants, with the CEO's name on it, they would think that, the CEO has purchased something online or something confidential or personal. They would just send it. They wouldn't open it. They would not open it. They would send it to the CEO's desk. And because this package was bulky, it would sit on top of all the other stuff that was, on the desk itself. If we had sent just a letter, like a direct mail campaign, a flat envelope, that would be lost. But because this package was a little bulky, it had the magnifying glass inside, and people would touch it, open and see, okay, what is this thing? Like, who sent me this? Is it a gift? Did I order something on Amazon and I forgot about it? So they would open it and they would see it. And so, a large number of these packages reached the buyer that would normally wouldn't reach in normal cases, it wouldn't reach the buyer because they're just hard to reach. But this kind of campaign was creative. It reached the buyer, and here's the best part: it cost us $20. One package cost us $20, and if I remember correctly, 30 of these packages gave us one client. You see, so with $600, we would get a digital marketing client, and then a lot of those clients had a long lifetime value because we would do a website, we would do Google advertising, and other types of advertising, and it would be a monthly contract. So it really worked out in terms of the cost of customer acquisition and versus the lifetime value of the client. And it was a great strategy for us. Cool. So I have one more example, but I'm not going to get into it because we're running out of time. I want to quickly talk about some follow-up techniques, and then we'll get somebody online. So the fifth tactic is actually, they're just follow-up strategies, because a lot of these approaches need follow-up because of the broader market principle, where not everybody's in the market to buy right now. So you want to have creative follow-up sequences, right? You want to have value-driven follow-ups instead of sales pitches, right? A great way to follow up is to have events and then follow up with buyers who you've met through referrals and through other types of contacts, and invite them to an event. That's an excuse to reach out to them, invite them, get them back engaged, and then have a conversation with them. You can also use podcasting as a follow-up approach, where you say, hey, it was nice talking to you. I'd love to get you on my podcast. And then they get back into, discussion with you. And then you can talk a little bit about business if they're open to it. You can share tools and resources. You can provide useful tools that you've created, or even white papers that you've written, infographics that you found in the industry. It doesn't have to be stuff that you've created. If there's something that is valuable, you think is valuable to your prospect, you can reach out using that. Even if you find an article that is relevant to the prospect that somebody else has written, you can use that and find your way back into a conversation saying, hey, I read this article and I thought of you. Right? You can even introduce people. You can even bring new resources, because clients, buyers are always looking to meet new individuals, either to hire them full time, to partner with them, or some other type of vendor. Right? So introducing your contacts to your buyers is another way of following up. Right? Offer live sessions where you can offer them, say, what if they're stuck in some kind of execution issue, and if you can help solve that, offer them a complimentary 1-hour session where you can help them work through that execution challenge, and in the process understand more of their challenges, so then you can build a further relationship with them. So these are creative ways of following up, and you want to keep following up until the person says no. If they say no, then you stop following up. But until they keep, as long as they keep engaging with you, or even if they don't kind of respond to you, you can find creative ways to follow up. And remember that not everybody is looking to buy right now, but they're in different stages of the buying journey. But engaging them with creative follow-ups will allow you to build a relationship with them. At some point, there's a good chance that they will respond. Okay, so it's top of the hour right now. I want to stop. I hope this was valuable. I know that a lot of you may have other things to do right now, but if one of you wants to come up and have a challenge of reaching a particular buyer, I'd love to go do this with you. So is there anybody in the audience who's brave enough? Remember, this is a risk-free environment. There's nothing that is going to jeopardize your way or jeopardize your chances of landing a client. So Chanel, is that how you pronounce your name? Chanel Rose?
It is.
Awesome. Great. So tell me a little bit about your business and your challenge.
Well, first I want to say thank you so much. I know I look crazy, but this is being recorded, so feel free to use this. I do a lot of live hosting. I attend a lot of live hosting, and I just want to thank you for giving out actionable advice. I think so often people come on here to sell, and it's very surface, and you've given me so many actionable things to do. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
This been extremely valuable. So I'll make sure I take up space and say thank you. So I guess my journey here is a little bit about me. My background's in politics. I spent 13 years running and winning political campaigns. I've raised millions of dollars for political parties. I pivoted out of politics into corporate America. Hated it. I was fired on medical leave during the pandemic, which is how I ended up, in full-time entrepreneurship. And I always joke because I say that entrepreneurship is the longest job I've ever had. And it's true. I'm 4 years here and with no plans of slowing down or stopping. So most of what I do right now is government contracting and a ton of B2C. And I do some speaking and I do some like lots of trainings, but I would love to hear your thoughts about digging into getting more business clients specifically. I do a lot of small, like local businesses where I support them, but I'm really looking to dig my heels into medium-sized and corporate companies. And my zone of genius is sales specifically. So teaching people to show and sell. That is my brand all day, every day. Everything I've done has been sales.
That's great. Like, I know this is a broad question, but you've talked about mid-sized companies, right? So, and one of the things that I talked about is speaking. So, if you've done that before, and you said that you host events and speak and so on, if you can get in the door of mid-sized organizations that have events, and a lot of these companies have events, they have trainings, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're in sales, a lot of companies have sales kickoff events where they get sales trainers, or a department may need some kind of sales training.
Yeah.
So if the first thing you want to do is create an offering for your consulting service, and identify who your target buyer is, identify the type of organization you want to sell to, and of course, identify the type of buyer, and then look for opportunities where you can get in the door as a speaker or as a trainer for sales. You can even look at opportunities where associations, many different types of associations, industry associations have events. Like, for example, I did this for one of my clients recently, based in New Jersey. And one of the chambers of commerce had a meeting, 400 people, and this consultant reached out and got an opportunity to speak in front of 400 people. So even associations would be a great way to would be a great avenue to approach to land speaking engagements for sales. And the thing about sales, speaking about sales, is it can be good and it can be challenging because it's such a broad topic. Everybody does it. The competition is huge. So if you want to get in as a speaker of sales, you really have to come up with some kind of different angle. Like, show and sell, it sounds interesting. I don't know what specifically it is, but if you have a topic called show and sell, and then you reach out to, you have a strategy of reaching out to meeting planners within organizations, associations, a bunch of other, mid-sized organizations, and pitch some kind of, or even speaking bureaus, reach out to speaking bureaus and say, here's what I talk about, and use that approach. And the good thing is that, in order to position yourself, you've got to dig into what makes you unique. And now you worked in politics. That's something that not everybody has worked with. So maybe you can bring in some kind of, angle that is unique about that world into the corporate world. You don't know. So, I mean, you never know what works, right?
I
So
think that,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Oh, what I was gonna say is that I do talk about that a lot, and like community, like turning your potential buyers into community. And that's been my leverage. Like I always tell people, what I used in politics, it works really well in business. And nobody can tell you how to get on brand and stay on brand better than me, because that's literally what I've done. Like I've raised leaders from autonomy into elected officials. I've never lost. And so I do talk about that quite a bit. I avoid partisanship at all costs because that's not the point. But I would say like that's really a reminder. And most of my speaking engagements, if not all of them, have come from people referring me to get up on stage. I get submitted all the time. And like I've been on our local news here in Chicago a few times, and it's all from people just finding me. I guess that it's infrequent and I want to have a more consistent flow. And so you've helped me understand that like the gap for me is doing more proactive outreach to associations and membership organizations. I guess my last quick question is, the speakers bureaus, are they just called speakers bureaus? Or like, how do you find them?
Yeah, they're just called speakers bureaus or speaker agents. So just search for speaker bureaus and you'll find them. And there are lists of speaker bureaus as well. But I just want to, I have to drop off too, but I'm going to close out with what you just said. You already are a speaker and you get referrals you mentioned. So, that technique that I talked about earlier on about, building an engagement 100 list, right? And building a referral system. So if referrals work for you, build a list of potential partners. Call it the strategic 100 list. These could be potential meeting planners. These could be potential, earlier buyers or referrals who've got you into organizations before. These could be people you network with that are part of membership associations, industry associations, and so on. So create that list, network with them, and then make that into a consistent system. Because as I said earlier, the first thing I said is there's no magic pill here. And I'm going to close out with this, which is great. And my main message is this: there's really no magic pill. You've just got to show up and do the work and keep doing the work and doing the work. And that's how, and get acting on feedback and then tweaking your approach, but just keep showing up. And that's how you build a pipeline.
Okay. And one last, I know you have to go, but can I send you a message on LinkedIn? I want to share a resource with you that I think might be, if you don't know about it, could be helpful just for you. I'm not selling anything.
Absolutely. Just connect with me on LinkedIn if you're not connected already. And yeah, I'll see you inside.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thanks for coming on, Chanel. And for the others in the audience, I have added the link to the community as well. And those of you listening, you'll find the link to the Consulting Growth Hub community in the show notes. I will see you on the inside. Have a great day.